Love it or hate it, small talk is a part of all of our lives, particularly in a professional context. And over the last few years, I've really been reflecting on why I've reacted the way that I have to various conversations. Some conversations have been fabulous. I've left the conversation feeling engaged and energized, perhaps excited about a new connection, a new relationship, an idea, a concept, a podcast, something that's really positive. But there have been so many opportunities for, at worst, a neutral conversation, at best something amazing, but there's been so many opportunities that have gone to waste and I've walked away from the conversation feeling shit. And that's because the conversation, whilst intended at a really surface level, has gotten incredibly personal. The questions that we ask, our default questions when it comes to small talk, may seem like they're at the surface level, but the reality is for a lot of people, they're incredibly personal. And I wanted to explore this a little bit today because particularly, and unfortunately, this is a stronger issue for women, but there are three really big areas that I think are invasive. And I want to just shine a light on this, hold up a mirror to people, because I know that I've done this in the past, and it wasn't until I triggered or had triggered to me a really strong emotional reaction that I realized, hang on, this isn't okay. I don't like the way I'm feeling right now, and my goodness, it makes me feel queasy to think that I might have made somebody else feel like this. So I'm not standing here saying I'm perfect, but I'm standing here saying I'm trying really hard, and I want to talk about how we can get better at small talk. So, growing up in a professional environment, I started work in a professional context at around 20 in a corporate environment. And through that process, the questions that come our way tend to be relationship based, right? Do you have a partner? Oh, you've got a boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever it might be. Are you married? Are you going to get married? Now, these are easy questions. I get that, absolutely, but they're very personal. And I consider myself very fortunate during that period of time that I was in a relationship. Not because that's the right thing to do, but it's easy. It's easy then to respond and to navigate the conversation. But as the years went on, questions about when I was going to get married, didn't sit so well with me. And if I'm really honest, the feeling that I got for a lot of them was something akin to road rage. Over time, I've learned to realize that feeling isn't coming from a reflection of malice or ill intent on the other person's behalf, but it's just from passive questioning. And in a professional context, I don't believe that questions about our relationship are relevant or appropriate, particularly if we're just getting to know someone. Recognition of a ring on a finger does not give you permission to ask these questions. Let's talk about the next vein in terms of how our lives progress, which is, oh, you're married now. Are you going to have kids? Again, incredibly personal. I thought I was dealing with this okay until I experienced loss and heartache, and it's something that I still experience now. I'm working through those issues myself personally and managing the best I can on a day-to-day basis. And I'm better at dealing with those questions than I was 6 months ago. But that is something that is an ongoing battle. And I really think, why do I have to deal with these questions? Why do I need to be talking in a professional context about whether I'm going to have children or not? Again, I get that they're easy questions, but it's not appropriate. Let me bring it up if I want to. I can draw and engage in the conversation in a way that I feel comfortable with, not as a default question, are you married, do you have kids, do you want kids? The final question that I wanted to touch on is actually not so much a professional one, but something around where we live. And it's something that I experience all the time at Wealth Enhancers and in my role as a financial coach, because it comes with a lot of loaded assumptions, which is, do you own your own house? Shortly followed by the words, I'm just renting. Now, the reason I'm bringing it up in this small talk context is because it comes associated with a lot of judgment. Because when we ask these questions, we're putting our assumptions on the other person, and whether we mean it or not, we're also imparting a little bit of judgment as to whether there was a right or a wrong answer. And the reason I'm flagging it in this context is because there is no right or wrong answer. It's an entirely personal decision and a reflection of somebody's values, goals, and intentions. Now, these are 3 relatively common examples, but I can assure you there are so many versions of this. So next time you're at the water cooler, I want you to have a think. Next time you're at a barbecue or a networking event, what are the words that we're finding coming out of our mouth? Do we need to have a couple of new defaults so we can ask questions, have a bit of banter? I'm not saying let's not talk. I'm not saying let's not talk about these issues. I'm saying let's talk about it in a way that is a safe and open conversation and not default. Not passive, not lazy, not invasive, not loaded with assumptions. So to do that, we need to think about, first of all, reflect, have that self-awareness. How am I currently engaging in these conversations? Even ask ourselves the question, what would trigger me? Because I know that I'm not alone when I say that there are small talk conversations, particularly in a professional context, where I'm just like, oh, I don't want to talk about this, not with you. Doesn't mean I don't want to talk about it, but just not right now. So consider this an open conversation about how to have better conversations, because whilst I absolutely accept it's up to us to take responsibility for our own happiness and choosing how we react in these situations, and self-awareness is a big part of it, I think we can also take ownership of the unintended impact that we are having on other people, and we can do better at it. So let's have this conversation and let us get better at having some small talk.